Angel fans, the Halos played 2 games yesterday. One started by Sandy, the other started by Detmers. We're going to recap those starts. Plus, Carlos Estevez struggled in the second half of last season, and he said he knows why and how to fix it. So we're going to share what he's doing this spring to do just that. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, we've been fans of this team for years, as we well know, because it's us. We've been fans of this team for years, and we're so happy and thrilled to be able to be your host for Locked On Angels, where we're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, every single weekday. On today's show, Carlos Estevez knows why he struggled in the second half of the season, and we're going to talk about what he's working on this spring. We'll share what he's doing, but first, Mike, we got to talk about the games against the A's and the Cubs. Let's start with that game that was on Bally Sports against the A's, where Patrick Sandoval got the start.
Yeah, he went 2 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 K, and 2 home runs to the same guy.
I wanted to say 2 2/3 innings in quotations, because he came in and out of this one, right?
Yeah, wasn't great. He did give up a single to Ruiz on a 3-1 count in the first inning, and that guy's a stolen base threat. He had 67 stolen bases last year.
And I jumped ahead a couple of rounds to pick up Estevez Ruiz last year in fantasy baseball for that exact reason.
There's always a fantasy flex on almost every episode with John Frisch. I like that. He did get a ground out for a double play. He threw a sinker. The defense picked him up, which is great because they didn't do that last year.
Yeah.
And it felt good. It felt like good news, but then a single to on a 3-2 count to
JJ Bleday.
My goodness. Yeah. My eyes did not see that well. And then Rooker got a single on a changeup, and then Andujar hit that 3-run home run. He got behind in the count. Sandoval did. And there was a fastball over the plate. That's what I've noticed so far this spring, Johnny, is when the starters get behind, like Tyler Anderson just a couple of days ago, the teams are rocking them because they're trying to obviously throw it over the plate, and they just are expecting that pitch, and they are teeing off on some of those pitches.
Yeah, if they are not able to locate, that's when we're seeing them fall behind in these counts, and man, the hitters' counts are really doing damage to them. Now, with the pitch count up, Mike, Ray Montgomery pulled Sandy. Obviously, Ray Montgomery was the interim manager for the day because Wash and company were over in the B game with Detmers, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Sandy was allowed to come back in because of the spring training rules, so he was allowed to come back later in the game. But Eric Martinez, Mike, a minor leaguer who has some pretty good numbers across all of his minor league stints last year, from high A to double A, triple A, stuff like that.
Yeah.
He came in for Sandoval. He got a walk. But what I liked about this moment, and you've pointed out this sort of thing many times when it comes to Ron Washington, this time, Logan O'Hoppe went out there and had a talk with him. And right after that, Martinez got the K with 3 pitches. And so to me, O'Hoppe really showed that he's got a good presence out there. A couple thoughts here. Sandy was not locating the fastball where he wanted it. He needed them down. He needed them outside and away. And they just kept hovering over the plate.
Right.
If you were watching this one on TV. Now, Logan O'Hoppe, like I mentioned, he did well to settle Eric Martinez and get him out of the inning. Just had him slow things down, had him throw the off speed to get back into the strike zone. It really set him up for success there.
Sandoval came back in the second inning. I do like that rule, by the way, where you can pull a guy, give him a break, and then have him come back in because you want him to get work in, right?
Right. That's the point of spring training, is to get the work in.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That's a great rule. So Gooby noticed in the second inning that Sandoval was really flying open with his delivery. He got a ground ball to Neto, and it was a close play. Then another ground ball to Neto, and then a K to Ruiz. And then in the third inning, John, there was a ground ball to Fontenelle, and then there was a broken bat ground out to second, and then another ground ball. So there's something to be said about him adjusting his game plan. And he did that. It looked like he did that in the second and in the third inning. Even though he was kind of flying open, he did adjust how he was throwing his pitches and where he was hitting the strike zone.
Yeah, and then in the fourth inning, he throws a really low pitch, and Andujar just lines it out the very corner of the stadium. And Mike, do I recall wanting Miguel Andujar on this team a couple of years ago? Yes, I think that's true. I think that I did want Miguel Andujar because he was floundering in AAA with the Yankees. And so for me, I thought, hey, why not pick him up, get him at third base or shortstop or something? But now he did have a stint with the Pirates, and then the A's picked him up. I think that's going to be a sneaky good pick for the A's. And speaking of the A's, there's some talent on this team. I think that they're going to
sneaky good guys.
They're going to do better than they did last year, in my opinion. I kind of wonder if the noise from the ownership and the stadium is getting to those guys. But Sandy gave up that home run to Andujar. He gave up a single. Kelvin Caceres came in, got the double play and a fly out to finish the inning. So a couple final thoughts here for Sandoval, Mike. It's a bad outing.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. It did not look like his first spring start. That's fine. But the thing is to me and to Gooby, it was definitely a mechanical issue.
Right.
Flying open with his shoulder. And because there was no Enright there or no Wash there because of the split squad game, gosh, I got to tell you, this is the second split squad game they've had where Wash wasn't at the game on TV, and you feel it. You just know it. There's
absolutely.
And even Enright, you kind of wonder what would have happened if Sandoval had gone back into the dugout and had a conversation with Enright. But at the very least, Mike, even all through this, Sandoval kept his cool, and I think that's worth talking about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Estevez later on, but he is another pitcher of note. He came in, got a fly out, got a ground ball to short, but Neto then booted that. Then he gave up a single on the first pitch, and then there was another first pitch double, so 2 runs come in to score. And then Ohapi comes out to talk to Estevez, and the result, John, a pop out. So Ohapi seems to be getting the philosophy that they want to help the pitchers to take, like the strategy that they want the pitchers to approach the hitters with. And Ohapi seems to give the right words at the right time for these guys. And so it's good to see him going out there and helping out his pitchers.
Yeah, Gooby was really impressed with Ohapi, knowing when to go out there, knowing when to make a mound visit, just having the know-how to settle his pitchers, get them back on track and in the strike zone, showing like wisdom beyond his years, Mike. So I think that if Ohapi continues to do that for the pitchers this year, that's a major part of the game that I don't think we talk about enough. It's just the communication between the catcher and the pitcher, and the catcher's ability to get that guy back on track. Now there's fewer mound visits this year. There's one fewer. And so that's something to pay attention to as well. Mike, let's talk about the hitting here. Taylor Ward had 2 walks in this one and a stolen base. He actually moved up to third on a pass ball after that stolen base.
Johnny, hot take. All right. I think that Taylor Ward is the bat that the Angels don't need to go and get. And like JD Martinez, I think Taylor Ward is the bat.
Okay.
If he can be the Taylor Ward that he was at the beginning of 2022. And so far, with the 2 walks, he's stealing bags. He's making contact. He went the other way. And that type of stuff is good signs from Taylor Ward. I think that he could be the guy that fills out, stretches out this lineup. Obviously, it'd be great to get one more bat, right? I don't want to take up that DH spot. And so there isn't really like a great option out there. I think Taylor Ward can be the guy that really makes this lineup deadly and extend this lineup to where it's a hard out at every single point.
Was that your version of the Angels don't need to add anybody else? It's like they're trading for a player by getting Taylor. I hate that. I hate that that logic. So I think you're just doing that.
It wasn't that at all.
You're doing that to dig at me because I'm so good at fantasy baseball and saying we need Miguel Andujar 2 years ago. Listen, Brandon Drury, he got a walk and a strikeout. Really does not seem to have his timing yet. And we know Drury does have a tendency to strike out. But that also delivers a lot of power like he had last year. So just got to be patient with that, see him through the rest of spring.
Remember, he started last year off pretty tough too, and so I think he just
did.
needs more bats, and that's
Yeah.
same thing with Mike Trout. They just needed bats, right?
Exactly. Matt Thaiss hit the ball hard, but it was a fly out. He did get a walk and a hit by pitch. I think that we're not going to hit on our hot take where he's going to have the best average in slugging in spring, unfortunately. Mike Jordan Adams, I was actually really impressed. Good plate appearances today. Took 2 walks, was running all over the bases, so that was great to see. Neto had a hit and was driven in for a run. Biggest moment, Michael. Mike Trout hit his first home run of the spring. It was a grand slam.
I fist pump.
A pitch down around the knees. It was the classic Mike Trout compact swing to hit that one out. And he was just all over that, dead center, off the batter's eye, over 420 feet. Really great thing to see.
I'm sure that felt really good for him too. And it is just an indication, like, you give this guy more at bats and he's going to start seeing things a whole lot better. And he even said after the game, I'm seeing the pitchers a whole lot better just because I need to get regular plate appearances and regular at bats. And that was a classic Mike Trout swing. And so it was great to see him crush that to center field. In fact, with the bases loaded, down 6-1, there was a part of me that was like, man, it'd be great if he just hits a granny right here. But because we're wrestling with the Trout that we've seen the last couple of years. So I was like, I'll take anything. Like, just hit a sac fly, do something along those lines, right? And when he got a hold of it, I was like, yes. And there was a big fist pump in the middle of the living room because it was good to see him get back to what he does really well. It was a Mike Trout classic swing, and it was great to see him make contact.
So yeah, Sandoval's rough start was not what we wanted out of the second start, but I think that there is some hope in the sense that once they have Barry Enright back in the dugout for the next start and Ron Washington.
There's something to that, John. I think so.
I really think there is, Mike, especially their presence is really felt in the dugout there. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. The Angels are playing the Mariners at 12:10 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up, we'll talk about Reid Detmers starting the B game, and Carlos Estevez knows why his spring numbers are not great, but he said, I'm not worried about it. And we're going to tell you why in just a minute.
Today's episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Amazon Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers an amazing viewing experience. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or college basketball, you're going to want a Fire TV. They've created a Fire TV channel to deliver a constant supply of latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. And that includes, by the way, Locked On. Like, John and I will be on one of those channels, and some of the big league pro TV shows and college conferences as well. You get to see all of that on Fire TV channels. They let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more. And Fire TV channels will keep you up to date on all of the latest around the world of sports, not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, traveling, cooking videos. All of that is included. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. And if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Once again, that's Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Everydayers, Locked On has the world's first national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's Locked On Sports Today, where you can get 24/7 coverage of the top stories of the sports world of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering each and every league. So head on over to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and hit subscribe to the first ever 24/7 national sports streaming channel.
The game I wanted to see, but they didn't actually put on TV, was the Reid Detmers game against the Cubs.
Now, some savvy people out there use their MLB TV subscription to tune into the Cubs broadcast of the Angel game. So that was pretty cool. Well done, everybody.
Love that. I wanted to watch it because Reid Detmers had his second start of the spring, and we know his first start was really tough, threw a lot of pitches, had a lot of walks. Yesterday was much better, John. 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and 6 Ks. 2 things that I want to point out here. Lots of swings and misses, which is Reid Detmers' game, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where he's good. Not pitching to contact, Matt Wise, but swinging and missing. Thank you, Barry Enright. And then no walks, Johnny. He really was efficient in this game. He had a nice 1-2-3 inning on 6 pitches and had 42 pitches total in 4 innings. I think this is peak Reid Detmers. This what we saw in his game yesterday is exactly what he does well. And if he continues to be consistent in this, he's going to continue to do well. And the only run that he gave up, John, came on an obstruction call from Louis Rengifo, which was back in the game, by the way, which is great. And so I loved watching him pitch yesterday. And my question to you is, do you feel a bit better now about Reid Detmers after this start compared to the first start?
Yeah, definitely. The thing that's different from Reid Detmers' first start to his second start that makes me feel really good is that, let me put it this way. When I watched Tyler Anderson not do so great in his first start, it's because I could tell that he was working on things. And as we've mentioned over and over again on the show, he was working up and down the zone, trying to hit that fastball at the top and the bottom and the changeup and everything. With Detmers, his first start felt like bad Reid Detmers. Does that make sense? I couldn't see if he was working on things or whatnot, but he was right. He said his nerves were getting to him. He was amped up, causing him to overthrow things. And that was very obvious in Detmers' first start. So to hear this result from Reid Detmers makes me feel a lot better about it.
A couple of homers in this game. Johnny Jake Marisnick had a home run, but the one that we really wanted to highlight is Joe Adell hit another home run. It was great to see. Great contact by Joe Adell. I just want to see this guy get some more at-bats and some more chances.
How you feeling about Jake Marisnick, Mike? What do you think?
I don't know, John. I like Jake. I just think because we have 5 outfielders, he's just not going to be a guy that we need to have at the major league level anytime soon.
Do you think he takes the AAA assignment, or do you think he tries to find a spot on another team somewhere?
I think if I'm him, I'm trying to find a spot on another team simply because he looks good this spring, right?
Doing that good, yeah.
I mean, I could see him like the A's grabbing him,
or
maybe the Mariners grabbing him, or maybe even the Marlins grabbing him, Pirates. Like I could see him going to one of those teams and really doing what he does best. He doesn't have a high average, but he plays great defense and he might knock in a few runs for you. And so I could see him going, no, I'm going to go take this. Plus, with all of these young guys that we're watching from AA and AAA come up and play right now, I'm like, man, is there even any room for somebody like a Marisnick that could be depth for us?
Yeah.
But we also have these other young guys. Now, I'd love to keep him because of the depth piece.
Right.
That I think is necessary. But for him, I could see him trying to take another option somewhere else.
I really hope he sticks around because that's a good depth piece, and it's major league talent that's waiting in the wings at the AAA level because he's done it before. He's been there before.
Yep.
And he's showing that off with his defense. Definitely. Mike, Kenny Rosenberg had a tough one.
Kenny.
1 1/3 innings pitch, 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and a K. The walks are the things that really hurt him, which is something the Angels haven't done a lot this spring. In fact, we mentioned it earlier this week. The Halos have been walking batters a lot less this spring. You've got some stats there, Mike. Why don't you talk about those?
Yeah, entering Wednesday, the Halos have issued 2.63 walks per 9 innings, which is the best ratio in the majors right now. They're also leading the Cactus League in ERA with a 3.23 ERA.
I'm sure they were leading before Wednesday.
Yeah.
After both of these games, which they took the L, and there were a lot of runs scored, that might be different, but at least coming into the games yesterday, a 3.23 ERA is certainly something that is encouraging. But more encouraging than that, Mike, is that 2.5 walks per innings. That's or per 9 innings. That's huge for Angels pitching.
Absolutely. And what's great about the ERA is that they are trailing just the Nationals and the Mets, who are playing in a more pitcher-friendly environment in Florida. The Angels are playing in an environment where the ball can jump off the bat. And Ron Washington said that's a credit to Barry Enright and Steve Carsey, bullpen coach Steve Carsey. He said they deserve a pat on the back for the way that they've taken this young pitching staff and got them believing that they can throw the ball over the plate with their stuff instead of trying to run away from being touched with a bat. Now, I love that last line, John. Instead of trying to run away from being touched with the bat, trying to strike out everybody, trying to miss bats, when some of those pitchers are that. Reid Detmers is that. But there also is a good time and a needed time to make contact, to get ground balls behind you, which is why pitch efficiency has been something that they've really enforced and we've seen so far, and watch these guys get through like six pitches in one inning. So yeah, I love that. I guess the question really is, it's spring. So how do the Halos carry this philosophy, strategy, these stats into the regular season? How does this happen in April, Johnny?
Yeah, they just got to keep emphasizing race to 2 strikes because, as you said, Mike, it really seems like the Angels pitching has much more success from the starters to the bullpen when they are ahead in counts. One of the things that really bit Sandoval in the butt yesterday was not getting that first pitch strike. It changed the entire trajectory of his of the at-bat that he was facing in that moment, and he was not getting first pitch strikes. And then the thing is, I know Sandy had a bad start, but here's what I did like seeing, and I hope this carries into the season, is the fact that while he was having trouble locating, there were guys that were getting singles and were hitting it through the gap. At the same time, there were innings like the second inning where he got, 2 ground balls in a row and then a strikeout. So, and then in the third inning, there was a ground ball, a broken bat ground ball, another ground ball. So to me, it emphasized that point of what you said, or was that Ron Washington who said it? They're not running away from being hit by the bat. And that's key. Like, these guys can't be afraid to have a ball be put in play because they're afraid of where it's going to go. They really have to do better at trusting the defense behind them. That's going to increase their efficiency. That's going to increase how long they go into games. I think that's going to be key for them going into 2024.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Now, you might be wondering, what is Prize Picks? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and they're the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you play against the numbers. And here's how you do it. You pick between 2 and 6 players and decide if that player will produce more than or less than the projected stat. You get it right, and you can watch the winnings roll in. Whether it's tournament season or a fight for the playoff home court in the NBA, there's no shortage of high-stake basketball moments this time of year. And with Prize Picks, you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Right now, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit them in less than 60 seconds. Gameplay is easy, and there's an enormous amount of selection of players and stat types. So, for example, here's a couple of examples we've given over the last couple of days. You could select Steph Curry for more than 29 points, or you could select LeBron James for less than 15 rebounds, maybe even go with girls basketball and watch Caitlin Clark score more than 30 points, or perhaps you get Antonio Davis, who's playing for the Lakers, right? That's right, the Lakers. You're watching him play for the Lakers, and he could get maybe less than 4 blocks, whatever it might be. You're going more than or less than. Super easy to do. And when you win, there are quick withdrawals like Apple Pay access for quick and easy deposits into your account. So download the app today and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, download the Prize Pick app today and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Mike, we got another look at Carlos Estevez on the mound yesterday, and, mixed results there, of course. Like we mentioned, Ohapi came out, had a good conversation with him, able to get the next 2 outs there. He went into this winter with a very specific plan for improving what went wrong last season. We're all aware how he finished the second half because it was a tale of 2 halves. We were all worried about him in spring last year as he was figuring things out. Had a great first half, then really fell apart in the second half. He was an all-star last year. He finished with 31 saves last year, but the second half was not great, left a bad taste in his mouth, and it was a really rough finish. Here is what happened. He had a 1.88 ERA and converted all 23 of his save opportunities through July. Then he blew 4 save tries and had a 8 .38 ERA over the final 2 months. And we're all well aware of when the season fell apart, thanks to the Mariners and Carlos Estevez blowing that lead. That's really, doesn't that feel like the turning point when all this went down last year? Like, man, what a rough couple of months it was for us last year. So let me tell you what he said. He said last September, he thought he was fatigued because the physical demands of pitching the ninth proved to be more than he was accustomed to pitching earlier in the game. We all know last year was his first time as a full-time closer.
Right.
But because of that, he wouldn't throw on his days off. He would just participate in dry throw sessions. And these sessions aren't done without a ball. And its purpose is to keep your mechanics in line, but not put a strain on your arm and wear it out. So essentially, it's kind of like when you were young, Mike, and you would throw you would practice your pitching motion in front of the mirror, in private where nobody could see you.
Throw me under the bus? What's going on?
No, actually, that was probably more like Jeff, our other brother. For Carlos, this practice didn't bring the outcomes that he wanted. So this winter, he's changed his workout routine. Tell us about that, Mike.
Yeah, on his workout routine, he said, I started a little bit earlier, and I started doing more interval exercises, explosive with less rest, just to get used to the intensity of the ninth inning. So
I'm tired just hearing about it.
I know. So in other words, like explosive, meaning that he's throwing hard and he's continuing to throw the fastball and he's not giving himself a break in between, because that's how a ninth inning works, right? And so Estevez also said that he didn't expect that he needed to do anything different after pitching 6 seasons in the majors. Remember, he was in Colorado. He figured it'd be easier once he got out of the high altitude in Colorado, but he quickly learned that that wasn't the case on leaving Colorado and not changing his routine. He said, people think that once you're a big leaguer, you got everything figured out, but you've still got to make adjustments. And he needed to make adjustments, didn't he, John?
Absolutely. People think that once you're a big leaguer, you got it figured out and you've still got to make adjustments. We talk about that all the time on this show. If you're a Locked On Everydayer and a fan of Locked On Angels, you know that this is a game of adjust.
When he said people, he's not talking about us, right?
Yeah, he's not talking about us. He's not talking about our everydayers either. Hey, coming into spring, he said that his arm feels in better shape than it normally would at this time of year. He also admitted that the results may not show up in Arizona. He said that he's a really bad starter in spring training. We all saw this last year when he gave up 9 runs, 10 walks in 7 2/3 innings pitched last spring. So where does Carlos fit in this bullpen? Ron Washington said they have him penciled in as their closer. They said that if he struggles or needs rest, they'll turn to Robert Stevenson or possibly even Matt Moore, which he did pick up some of that slack last year while we still had him. Mike, the big question here is, outside of injuries, the second struggle for the Halos is being tired and being overused. And part of the reason for that is not many bullpen guys had options to go up and down from AAA to the majors just to give some of these guys a break. So what do you think the attack the strike zone approach will help them moving forward? Do you think that's going to help them moving forward? Maybe help Estevez moving forward, make some of their outings a little bit more efficient? What do you think about that?
I think it just gives them a good mindset for when they go out on the mound, what they need to accomplish. And Estevez had to learn how to be a closer essentially on the fly last year, because even coming out of spring, remember conversations like maybe Jimmy Herget would be the guy because, right? That was one of the conversations that was out.
Jimmy Herget.
That was one of the conversations that was on social media, right? And then there were other options as well. People were like, I'm just not sure, right? And then when Estevez took the role and he was coming in and closing out games and doing it consecutively, people were like, oh, okay, this feels good. I think that what shifted for him is what he admitted to as well. Like, he got tired and he wasn't doing his regular routine in between. But I think also what plays into that is the philosophy, the strategy when you go out on the mound, the mindset of what I need to do. And he would always go out there and immediately throw like strike 1, strike 2, but then he would play. He would try to miss bats. And I think Estevez can learn from what Wash is teaching them. Like, don't run away from the bat. Just throw a good pitch that makes it difficult for them to make contact. And when he can, things could change. And speaking of change, it seems like he's trying to throw a changeup this year as well, in amongst what he does with the fastball at the top of the zone.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me as somebody who watches these games intently and doesn't have StatCast available to him because there's no square on the television for the strike zone.
Yeah.
There's no StatCast data. So it's hard to hone in on what pitches are being thrown, how fast they are, or where they're at most of the time. You got to use your eyes, but on TV, it's still really, really hard. But the last time Estevez went out, I noted that he was using that changeup up and in on the hands to the lefty. So that might be a way he's working on getting guys out. Mike, we talked about the adjustments, and Carlos Estevez mentioned it too. I don't think that I should say this. People adjusted to him last year. They figured him out halfway through the season because it was that fastball up. They learned to lay off of that. He was getting guys to chase up there before, and he was hitting the top of the zone with it before too. But then he kind of lost that as well. So if he doesn't find a way to adjust during the season and kind of change his approach on the mound, I think that changeup is going to help him. I think that slider is going to help him. And then being able to spot that fastball better is going to be something that helps him a lot as well. But again, he's got to be prepared to make some adjustments through the season because, he can overpower guys. But sometimes you leave that fastball flat, these guys can take stuff for a ride. And that's the issue that we've seen with Carlos Estevez. Ben Joyce the other day, when he got that 1-2-3 inning, was a great example. He didn't strike anybody out. They were all pitches hit on the ground.
You're right.
And that's something that I think Carlos Estevez could benefit from seeing and maybe even practicing as well. Because, again, just like Sandy did, adjusted that game plan. He wasn't hitting the zone, so then he threw some pitches that were going to induce ground balls, and that's what got him through that second and third inning. And I think that Carlos Estevez, if he wants to have success this year, is going to have to make those kinds of adjustments.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Reminder, the Angels play the 2-9 in the spring training Seattle Mariners today at 12:10 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening to today's show, come on over to YouTube, get in the comments section. It's the best way to get in touch with Mike and I and be part of the conversation. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
It's Fan Mail Friday. I already saw some of the questions, and they're so great, and I'd answer one right now. John is a better chef than Mike.
Hey!
I don't cook. I have a beautiful wife who has decided to do that, and if I tried to do that, we would not eat healthy.
You barbecue?
Or good. I barbecue. She taught me how, by the way. When we first got married, she taught me how. So anyway, Fan Mail Friday is tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
And we'll also be watching that game as well. So we'll cover Thursday's game for you on Friday and then have Fan Mail Friday questions for you. In the meantime, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Angels, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
Got to correct an error. I said Antonio Davis. He was an Indiana Pacer in the 90s. It's Anthony Davis that plays for the Lakers.
Well done.